Welcome to this lesson on how to do writing task 1. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the best strategy for how to handle bar graph essays when it comes to writing task 1. And it doesn't have to be difficult. There is a very simple formula. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a simple formula. And if you follow this strategy, you'll be able to simply plan your essay and handle it with success and get the score you need with bar graph questions. So let's get started. And we're going to be dealing with this one type of question in writing task 1, and that's bar graphs. So let's begin with an overview of bar graph questions in writing task 1. First of all, as you begin to plan your strategy for this essay, the first thing you want to do is to analyze the question and make sure you know that the task that you have to achieve. So you're going to look at the topic and you're going to look at the requirements for this essay. And as you go through your strategy, you're going to first of all identify the main features of the bar graph. Then you'll write an introduction, you'll write an overview, and then you'll write your details paragraphs where you summarize and make comparisons of the diagram or chart or graph that you are looking at. So this is your task, and the way that you'll put this together and plan your essay is with 4 paragraphs. When you put these 4 paragraphs together, you won't have any trouble reaching the 150 words that are required on this essay. And one thing that is really good about making sure you plan and know that you limit yourself to these 4 paragraphs is that you don't write too much. You have 20 minutes to accomplish the task and write this essay. And the danger is not being able to come up with 150 words. The danger is that you won't limit yourself and you'll write far too much. This is the last task that you usually complete on the day of your IELTS exam. And so you'll want to make sure that you complete it not only successfully, but you stick to the task and don't spend too much time and too much effort writing this essay. So let's get started step by step on how you can write this bar graph essay. First of all, you analyze the question. And as you look at the question and become clear on your task, you'll see that first of all, you're given a brief description of the graphic. The bar chart below shows the sector contributions to India's gross domestic product from 1960 to 2000. So this is simply the topic of your essay and what the bar graph is showing you. And this statement will come in very handy, as you'll see in a moment, for writing the introduction to your essay. Then in sentence 2, of the question, this is where you're given the specific instructions. This is the task that you have to achieve. And remember, task achievement is 25% of your mark in writing, so you'll want to make sure you do exactly what you're asked to do. And so you summarize information, you select and report the main features, and you make comparisons as you complete your essay. And then, of course, you have the diagram or the chart or the graph that you're going to be dealing with. So as you analyze the question, you can see that there are 3 basic parts to accomplishing the task. And these are the only 3 things that you have to do when it comes to writing your essay for this bar graph. First of all, select the main features, then write about the main features and compare. Okay, so this is your 3-step task, and this is all you have to do. You don't do anything else. You don't give your opinion. You don't give reasons for the trends or things that you see. You don't comment on them. You just report them. You just write and show the details of what you're looking at. So when we look at the graph, some of the things that we want to think about and ask questions about are what we're going to include in our bar graph. So one of the things that you want to do is plan your essay before you start writing and make an outline. And these are some of the notes that you'll make and the kinds of questions you can ask when it comes to bar graphs. And I suggest that you just make some notes and simply have some notes written down so that you're prepared when you begin to write. And if you can take 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes to make your notes and plan your essay, you'll write a much better essay in 15 minutes, if it's well planned, than you would in 20 minutes without taking this important step. So with a bar graph, you always want to look at the axes. What's the information that the axes give? And in this case, it's percentages on the x-axis and decades or years on the y-axis. Is it dynamic or static? And this means that is it moving, or is it just a set or completed process or situation? And in this case, we can see because the graph ends at 2000, it's static. Everything on this graph is completed. There's no predictions for the future. There's no moving forward, so it's not a dynamic essay. We're going to look at the units of measurement. We have decades on the y-axis, and we have percentages on the x-axis. We look at the time periods. And then we also want to look at any labels. Whenever you have a graph or diagram or chart, you always want to clearly identify the labels. And in this case, we have the labels that describe what's in the different colors of the bars: agriculture, industry, and services. And we know that this entire graph, if we look at the title, is the contribution of percent of India's gross domestic product. So that's what GDP stands for, gross domestic product. And we know that from what we saw in our question. What's the most obvious trend? And are there any similarities? So we're doing a comparison whenever we write a task 1 essay. Let's take the next step together. So what we've done, as we've asked those questions and we've looked at the bar chart, is we've only selected 2 or 3, no more than 4 main features. But again, you want to be careful that you don't write too much. You don't have to describe every single detail in the bar graph. You want to select the main features because remember, you're only writing 4 paragraphs and only 150 words. So in this case, we have the contribution of the agricultural sector, we have the contribution of the service sector, and we have the industry sector that we want to deal with. So what we've done is we've just taken the 3 different sectors and described these in the form of our main features. And this is all that we have to deal with when it comes to our essay. So remember, we're going to be writing 4 paragraphs. Our first paragraph, and it's not even going to be a complete paragraph, maybe 1 sentence, maybe 2. We're going to write our introduction. Then our second paragraph is going to be an overview, a summary of the entire graph. And then in 1 paragraph, we're going to describe our first main feature. And in paragraph 4, we're going to describe our second main feature. And this is more than enough to give us the 150 words that we need on this essay. So let's go through this paragraph by paragraph and step by step. First of all, our introduction. And to write an introduction is quite simple. First of all, we look at our question. And in our question, we do have the topic. The bar chart below shows the sector contributions to India's gross domestic product from 1960 to 2000. This is the exact words from the question. So all we have to do, it's quite simple. All we have to do for our introduction is take this question and paraphrase it and put it into our own words. And if we were to do this, we might have something like this. The bar graph illustrates the relative percentage contributions made by the agricultural, industrial, and service sectors to the Indian economy between 1960 and 2000. So all I've done is found some synonyms for the words that were in the question, and I've paraphrased it and restructured it a little bit and just put the question that I'm given into my own words. And you can see that this is just one sentence. It's not even an entire paragraph. And this is simply the introduction to our essay. The next step we want to do is paragraph 2. And paragraph 2 is where we simply give an overview of the entire bar graph. So we say over the whole time period. So we're dealing with 1960 all the way to 2000. And then we mention the agriculture sector, we mention the services sector, and the industry sector. Those three main features, but we put it all into one or two sentences to just give an overview of the entire graph before we go into the details in our next two paragraphs. And so then we come to paragraph number 3. And what we're going to do is take our three main features, the agriculture, industry, and services sector, and divide them into these two paragraphs. So what we're going to do is first of all talk about agriculture. And we talk about how it changed from 1960 to 2000. We mentioned some percentages and increments that we've taken from the bar graph, and we mentioned the details about the trends and growth or decline of the agricultural sector. And then we mention what happens over the course of those years in the service sector. And we say that, and we compare it to the agriculture sector. And we talk about the changes that took place in the service sector. And so what we've done is we've dealt with the details of the agriculture and the service sector, two of those three main features that we've identified, by making a good comparison in this paragraph. Because remember, we're asked to give an overview, we're asked to identify main features, and we are asked to make a comparison. So we've handled that part of the task in this first main paragraph about the details, and this is paragraph number 3. And then we simply move on to paragraph number 4, and this is where we're going to deal with the industry sector, because we dealt with the other two sectors in the other paragraph, and we're simply going to make sure we deal with the industry sector, and we describe what happened over the course of 1960 to 2000 with the services sector. And we've completed our task. We've written our essay. We have almost 200 words. You can see how easily it is to come up with your 150 words. That's not a worry when it comes to writing task 1. And now we have our entire essay. And this essay, again, is about 180 words. It's just about the right length. We don't want to go over 200 words. We want to stay between 150 and 200 And this essay meets the criteria of everything required for writing task 1 and describing bar graphs. I hope you found this helpful, and I wish you all the best, not only in your writing on the IELTS exam, but in your overall score, and hope you find success in your preparation for the IELTS exam.